Good evening, or actually good afternoon. I hereby call this agenda review meeting of Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum is present and Reverend Pitcock, administrative assignment, and Mr. James Montoya unable to attend. Okay. The notice of this meeting was posted as required by Texas Open Meeting Act. Today, all items on the agenda for discussions only. No voting will take place at this meeting. Thank you for joining us, and I ask to please turn your cell phone to the silent mode. At this portion of our meeting, we have public comment. We have not received any request to address the board. However, those who are interested to address the board in the future, the notice of those meetings are posted with the meeting notice and all the instructions included, which is normally posted 72 hours in advance. Okay. Mr. Les Leinberger, you have a comment to make?
Thank you, President Niraman, Board, Dr. Myers. I just wanted to make note that NISD lost one of its staff members over the weekend, Tammy McDonald. She was a digital learning coordinator. She had been with the district off and on, more on than off, for several years, dating back to 1999. And I know she'll be greatly missed, obviously by her family, but also by her colleagues in our technology department. And just please keep them, both her family and her co-workers, in your thoughts and prayers in the coming days as they deal with that.
Thank you. Okay, at this portion, we are in a budget workshop, and Mr. Ben Eberlein, Chief Financial Officer, would start.
Yes, sir. President Niraman, Board of Trustees, Dr. Myers. You have in front of you our 25-26 budget projection, as well as the assumption summary in connection with. And if you would, I'll just go through the assumptions really quick, kind of give some high-level reasonings for why the budget is the way it is at this current iteration. And first, we'll start with our main priority, which is our children. Enrollment and ADA trends. So the past 9 years, NAC-ISD has lost 698 children. Our enrollment for the 2015-2016 school year was 6,464 kids. Enrollment for fall teams of this year, 24-25, is 5,766. So we've been on a steady decline for our enrollment. Thus, our ADA has also declined, which directly impacts our funding. So just something to monitor as we keep going forward. This budget iteration is projected to continue with that same decrease. Although slight year to year, it is something that we have to project, and it's a moving target every year. So, but it has been on the decline, with the exception of 1 year, which was 22-23. So that is an outlier. The next one is going to be our basic allotment and state funding. The legislature is currently wrestling with a bill in the House, House Bill 2, I believe, to increase the basic allotment from $61.60 to $63.80, a whopping increase of $220 per child. So with the caveat, I believe that 40% of the additional funding must be contributed towards additional compensation. So I believe I read that in those numbers, the passage of House Bill 2, the 6380, is included in this projection, as that was kind of the last template that we had included those funding changes. If House Bill 2 does not pass, revisions will be necessary, but I think everybody's in the camp that that's pretty well gonna pass. Next, we have our property values and our tax rate. So over the past couple of years, we've had increases in property value. However, with the legislature convening this year, there has been talks of the homestead exemption also going up. It was increased prior legislative session as well, and there's been talks of them possibly increasing that again. However, I think we are kind of projecting an increase in our taxable values with the I-69, I-69 corridor coming in, hoping to get some more businesses and things in. So that'll obviously increase our taxable value, but just something to be mindful of, that we let you know that we are mindful of all the legislative changes that are coming. Let's see. Tax rate. We've been in talks with RBC the past couple of months. There are our bond counsel, as well as strategically being able to early defease our bonds, as well as figuring out the best tax strategy for our district. So we've been in conversation with them about when the state, I, in conjunction with our wonderful HR team, as well as our wonderful executive team and administrators, have been hard at work developing a strategic and competitive comp plan, which we will try and bring to you the draft next month. However, we have done some considerable work and really trying to give strategic raises to our auxiliary staff while remaining competitive as far as entry-level people and stuff like that. So draft of that will be coming. However, every staff member is going to get a 2% raise as standard in the past years. And these compensation changes are going to be funded in part through attrition positions throughout the district, really evaluating when and if a position comes open, if we need to fill that, looking at our vacancies that have been historically unfilled, if those we've been operating without them, do we really need them? So do those need to be in the budget? So that's something that we're also looking at. Also, to non-payroll expenses or line items, we're expecting obviously an increase. I kind of projected a 1.5% plus any extenuating things that I know about at the moment, but essentially a base of 1.5% increase. Inflation, everything is higher. It's almost impossible to live on the same that you did last year. So just to touch on capital projects, or the 6,600 account, it is an increase from last year, but I wanted to make sure that we had enough in there to cover our enterprise fleet management. I believe I had a meeting with them last week, and we were looking at a replacement worksheet, and those will be coming to you as well in the future, but possibly turning over about 16 vehicles in the district, older vehicles, old as 1999, that we still have in our fleet. So looking to turn those over and get our people in safer, nicer vehicles. So I wanted to make sure that that was budgeted in here, as well as any priority needs. Ralph, I don't know where he is, but talked about some floor cleaners for our schools, as well as a forklift possibly for the warehouse. Very old. So things like that coming down the pipe. Just want to make sure that we're able to stay flexible while budgeting as much as we can towards our bottom line. I know I've talked a little bit, probably a lot, about the legislature, but it's quite a wild time because there's so much in the air that we don't know which way the legislature is going to go. So that is really our intent, is to stay flexible with whatever information comes down, and being able to pivot and make sure that our budget works. So this is the first iteration of the 25-26 budget. Obviously, as we continue to refine our payroll numbers, as we continue to refine all of our needs for the next year, These numbers are subject to change, but those will all be communicated in our next meeting or our subsequent meetings. So,
I have one.
President Farshid?
I have one question,
Okay.
not related to the budget. It says a decrease on enrollment. Is that statistically known what grade level we're losing students or have been?
we talked about that earlier today, me and Dr. Hill. We believe that it's at the elementary school, but I have not pulled any solid numbers
Right.
to give you that for fact.
Right.
We believe they're leaving in the elementary, going elsewhere, and then coming back for all of our wonderful programs that we offer at the middle school and high school. But I can pull those numbers for you if you would like.
Okay, is there understanding through the CTE program would attract people?
Yes, that is the thought why they're coming back is all of our programs. Yes, sir.
Okay, I can summarize it. We wish nothing goes bad, hope everything goes good.
Agreed.
Okay.
I have a question. On your, this first look at this, when you talk about the expenditures, 1.5% increase, and that's cost to account for inflation, do we also need to consider tariffs? Can that affect us?
Well, yes, sir, of course, but I'm not quite sure how we would monetize that amount I'm not sure how I would monetize that amount in a budget. I mean, honestly, it's just considering for general increases across the board. This does have some contingency built in, but it's kind of hard to estimate that number and what that impact looks for NACI.
Possibly then we need a bigger contingency.
Possibly, yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions? If not, we move on to board meeting minutes or consent agenda. Board members, are there any questions concerning board minutes? If not, we go back to business office report. Mr. Ben Everland, Chief Financial Officer.
Yes, sir. President Nirman, Board of Trustees, Dr. Myers, we have the first is going to be the budget amendments. We have quite a few this month. First is going to be on A, transfer funds per campus department request. This is just any request that the campus gives or a department to move between functions. So those are normal. B through G are going to be in reference to our capital projects amounts that we have later in the agenda review to talk about, but we wanted to ensure that we had those in case you all voted for any of the projects. We wanted to make sure that we had that on our report to go ahead and get those started as soon as we can.
Board, any questions? If not, we go to budget amendment and donations under 2,500.
Yes, sir. Donations under 2,500. Nacogdoches High School received $1,400 from American Legion Post 86 for NJROTC for dive school sponsorship. $350 from Christ the Savior Orthodox Church for NJROTC for the food pantry project. $828.21 from the Nacogdoches Dragon Athletic Booster Club for food for teachers and coaches. $100 from TCC Inc. District 3 for NJROTC for general needs. Our police department received a gun safe from CBTX for law enforcement appreciation. And also in-car dash cameras from CBTX for law enforcement appreciation.
I have a question here. It says $828.21. It says Nacogdoches Dragon Athletic Booster Club. Do we have a Dragon Athletic Booster Club that's combined all together? Because as far as I'm informed, at least at now, every sport has their own.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, when you said athletic booster club, there must be an account. For example, if you have a track meet, we have to feed all the coaches who are involved, all the students. So what is exactly Dragon Athletic Booster Club means?
I'm not sure what this in reference to this specific donation, which athletic booster club, or if there is a general parent booster club, but I will find out. But as far as an account, all the athletic booster clubs and booster clubs in general, as well as PTOs, PTAs, and things like that, they're all completely separate from the ISD. So any money they donate or anything like that, it is as if an external party had donated it to the school.
I'm trying to dissect there. When it says athletic booster club, somebody has to receive that and somebody has to sign it, so we receive it. Who would be that person?
If I had to guess, don't take this verbatim, athletic director is my guess, but I will look at that and bring it back to you if that's okay.
Oh, I just, fine, I don't care one way or the other. I
Yes,
just
sir.
want to make sure that we have the counts.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I wanted to make a comment about commercial bank providing for safety, not only for our officers, but if we provide safety for our officers, then that's for our students. And I'm sure that our chief back there really appreciates that donation of updating our cars with cameras. That's really tremendous.
And last but not least, Mike Moses received $1,000 from Michael Moses for campus needs.
Oh, how nice.
I think it's annual, every year. Okay. Good. Okay, next, investment report.
Gifts and donations?
Oh, gift and donations.
Over 20.
Over 20.
Gifts and donations over $2,500. TJR received $3,000 from First United Methodist Church to purchase books for the book vending machine, and NHS received $2,500 from Nacogdoches Kiwanis Club for Key Club for convention.
We certainly appreciate those people.
I had a question. How many of our elementary schools have these book vending machines? All of them or just some of them?
All of them.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to move into investment report.
Yes, sir. It's just our standard investment report that we get every month. Nothing much has really changed. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Ms. Ad?
I'm trying to find it.
She's trying to find the question.
Page 34.
48.
She-
Investment report?
No, I have a question about a check. You know me and my checks, I'm always, I'm not questioning its validity, or I'm just curious.
Okay.
Because I don't like just initials, I like more, okay. So, I think it's page 48, and it is that huge amount of $434,480.36. That is for those fees and, all that stuff. What building is that?
If just CMST is going to be the
The new?
new building.
Okay, that's what I figured.
But I will get a more concrete answer for
Okay.
you if that's okay for later.
Oh, yeah, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any more question?
I had one on the current summary of current investment by fund. Our biggest investment is Texas class of $30,588,000, and the yield on that is 0.0611. That's the highest yield we're getting off of anything. Do we pre-plan how we're going to reinvest that large sum of money?
So for that in Texas class, that's an investment pool, and the general consensus for my office, and we look at the market yields for CDs and things like that, but like you said, this is the highest yield. I think right now it's over 4%, so earning 4%. So it's really going back into itself, investing there, because that is the highest rate that we
Okay.
can currently get.
That's
on that.
that's a good answer. We're reinvesting it in the highest level. Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
It's
That's
going right
great.
back into that same account, so building interest on itself essentially.
Okay. Board is, or are there any questions concerning miscellaneous business office report? If not, we move on to item C, which is resolution extending depository contract for funds of NISD district. Mr. Ben Eberlein.
Yes, sir. I promise this is my last one. So we have semi-annually, I think it's every 2 years, we have to go and get our depository contract. We are very happy with Cadence Bank, and we are requesting that the board sign the resolution to continue our depository contract with Cadence Bank.
Okay, any comment, any question? Thank you, sir. Now, item D is a second reading of revised local policy FNC dress code. Mr. Michael Martin, Deputy Superintendent.
Good afternoon, President Nuremon, members of the board, Dr. Myers. This is the second reading of policy FNCA local, where the administration is recommending that we remove the portion of the policy which relates to standardized dress. Again, this is second reading.
Okay. Board, any comment, any question?
Yeah, I have, I'm going to begin with an apology that I didn't bring this up the first reading, because really, we've not discussed this at all. And since then, since last month, I've heard from a couple of, several parents and a couple of retired elementary teachers. And so I felt like, I'm not going to ask you any questions. I'm going to make some assumptions and then just sort of let the public know what I'm thinking about this, how I'm thinking about it, okay? The biggest concern was that we didn't seem to consider the reason we went to standardized dress. And we knew when we did that it was going to be a financial burden to some of our parents. And we even had that in our, that we will have a program to help. And we do have a program to help. And anyway, when this was presented to us to change, I probably would have been more helpful to the public if we had seen who first brought this before you guys to consider and all of that. I really believe that the financial hardship is really outweighing the pro, which was, and I'm going to read from the way it used to be, to improve student self-esteem, reduce ethnic racial tension, bridge socioeconomic differences among students. And now this is coming, obviously, from the retired teachers. I agree with you guys. We are a species that love to get members of teams and clubs and all of that, and it is helpful to our young students to build a sense of unity, and kids can be very cruel, and to have a standardized dress was one way to eliminate individuality, because those loners are usually the minority. But I don't think it's the answer anymore. I think we really do. It really is more of a financial burden for the bulk of our parents. And I had one interesting comment that it's not just a financial hardship, but, and I never even thought of this, that standardized dress doesn't fit all body types. And there are some body types that it's very hard to dress this way. And so I just wanted to say to the public who may be concerned about us losing a sense of unity and continuity on our elementary campuses, that each of our elementary principals are focusing on that in a different way. I've only been on 3 of the 5 elementary campuses, but I'm always impressed with all the encouraging posters, and all you have to do is clue into our convocation every year. And those elementary teachers are crazy. I mean, you know, they really are, and they are definitely unified. And that sense of unification, I think, is then projected onto the children. So I really think that this is a good answer, and it is not in any way going to detract from the original purpose.
Okay, any more comments? Dr. Roman?
I can always say something.
Hold on just-
I think when you put the responsibility and the guidance to the level of the principal, that's where the rubber hits the road. And they're the ones that are going to enforce this thing. So we can try it this way, and if there's everybody's complaining, no, this doesn't work, we can always change it back. But I think when we put it in the hands of the principals and they delegate, I think we're going in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Now we have discussion and action agenda. We have 3 items on the discussion and action portion of our agenda today. A is consideration of and possible action on summer 2025 capital project.
Board, we have capital projects in your board book. These capital projects that were proposed were capital projects that Dr. Trujillo was considering within the district, or ones that either can be completed during the summer, 60-day period during the summer, or projects that will not disrupt learning on a campus while they're being completed. So the first one was for a softball restroom. We have the portable restroom. They were considering making that a permanent restroom at the softball field as the one at the baseball field is. So that's a consideration there. We have only used that restroom, I believe, one time is what we were able to discern over the course of the last 2 years, and it's been parked over at our alternative campus. So that's something for the board to consider. One of the questions that was asked of me is how much does it cost for that portable restroom to be serviced? And it's $230 a trip. So that's what the service is for that. The second one that I have on the list there is the 9th grade kitchen project, and we have Mr. LaRue here, and he can answer any questions that the board may have. This project is for freezers and coolers, as well as a new prep area for that building. As you know, right now, we're shuffling supplies back and forth from the high school over to that building. And we actually are short on space as far as freezer space and so forth at the high school building. So that's something to be considered there. The same with the TJR, new walk-in cooler there, and a dock repair. The auditorium and ceiling stairwells. We have some plaster that's beginning to turn loose in some of those stairwells. And the ceiling also in the auditorium needs to be plastered as well. Warehouse renovation project, that's a large one. Just something for the board to consider, whether you want to begin it now or have it on the horizon. But it's quite extensive, everything from roofing to HVAC, fire alarm system, so forth and so on. You can see the amount there. The Reggae Playground, there's 2 options there for you to consider if you choose to do that project. One option is for $402,000, and that's without the rubberized mat. That's using wood chips for the playground bedding material. Option B is with the actual rubber. The reason for this project is that playground's pretty old, and it is not in good repair. As a matter of fact, we have several portions of it taped off so that kids can't use that because it's just not in good repair. So that's that project. Pardon me. And the last project is again at TJR, stage curtains. We've developed an issue with those stage curtains, and I believe we had an issue last week during the candidate forum at there with one of the stage curtains falling and so forth. So something we need to look at and keep that in repair at some point. So I'll leave that with the board for you to consider. And Mr. LaRue, as I said, is here, can answer any questions on any of these projects that the board may have.
I have one question from Mr. LaRue. That softball field restroom, is it going to be anchored forever? Or still, we can be detached and move?
Good afternoon.
Good answer.
Not necessarily anchored forever. It'll set on a slab, which will make it handicapped accessible.
Right.
It could be moved again, although it's a very tight area with fencing and things of that nature, so we would probably have to move a fence to move it.
In other words, you're afraid to say it's permanent.
Well, certainly little in life is permanent, so.
I understand. But my understanding was when we purchased that to allow SFA use it or another city event to use.
There was some discussion about that.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question. So we've figured out that it was used only once in the last 2 years. Was that for softball, or was that the time that we put it at the swimming?
We actually took it up to
Boys and Girls Club?
Boys and Girls Club. Thank you.
For the swim meet?
Yeah.
So since that's the only time it's ever been used, perhaps it would be better to keep it mobile. How much of a problem is the fact, though, that it's not handicap accessible if we keep it mobile? Is that right? It won't be handicap accessible?
It would be difficult. It's not something we can just back in there and it's ready to go.
Uh-huh,
And it also requires a 50 amp electrical service
okay,
or a loud generator running all the time, and then somebody to staff that and fuel it.
okay. So it's more than just moving it there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wherever you move it to, if you don't have a 50 amp service, somebody has to provide a generator at that level.
Okay.
We don't have a generator at
Uh-huh.
that level.
And that's probably why no one else like the city or SFA is using it?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So while we're on that topic, so it's going to be sitting there so that during all the practices, the girls can use that restroom, the new restroom, and this restroom drains through sewer system, so there's no charge to clean it, like to get all the effluents out of there. It just goes down the sewer drain, right?
Correct.
And so they can use it all the time that they're practicing, all the tournaments that they have there, and all their games for the following years, because this has a long lifespan, this trailer does, right?
Correct.
So we're going to get a lot, and a lot of use, and the people have been very, very happy at the men's field, the boys' field, and utilizing, and then also having the handicap available right there. That's another thing that's really important. We made a good investment in getting those, and they came from Canada before the tariffs.
Okay, so, this involves numbers, so I'm slow. Basically, we have not gotten our money's worth at all out of this thing because we have it over where it isn't being used and it's too complicated to use it. And the best thing, if we want to get our money's worth out of it, is to now make it permanent there at the softball field. Is that right?
Put it in its service.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Okay. Any more comment, question about?
I have one about a different topic. Ms. Stamper, I had a question for you.
Oh, the preacher.
So thank you for being here, like you always are. So I always like to read the newspaper where it has inspections, and our schools are in the inspections, okay? And so I noticed that in the last, few weeks, one of our schools got a 0. They had no demerits. And then this last week or the week before, BQJ had 1 demerit, like, awesome, we're doing great in that area. So I never really realized that the high school was in 2 places. So that's 1 inspection, those 2 places, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so in buying this, walk-in freezer cooler, that's going to improve our chances of staying in compliance with all these rules and regulations, and it's just going to be easier for our workers to get the work done and serve the food safely to whoever's in the 9th grade building. Oh, and I had another thing that goes along with this. When we put all this stuff in that little auxiliary place, we don't rent that out to any kind of group. That's only for the ISD staff to use that.
Correct. It is not rented out to anyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? If not, board, if you have any problem or no problems concerning those improvements, we can put that on a consent agenda.
We need to look at the options for the reggae playground. We need to keep that on the
Oh.
I
regular
understand.
action.
So it needs to stay on action. I guess the rest could go.
Okay, another word would, that single one would be on action, the rest of it would be on the consent agenda.
Can I ask a question about this then?
Sure.
Are we, to me, we were discussing this section as potential things that we want to look at. We do want to look at them, not necessarily that we are
That we're gonna
approving the
do them.
project.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct. What I would caution the board is that it's critical, time frame wise,
Okay.
for us to make decisions on these, because we need to be lining up to hit the ground running as soon as school's out with some of these projects. If we delay, we're not going to be able to get them prior to the start of school next year.
So with the reggae playground, you've got 2 options. I know we need to do something with the equipment.
Correct.
But if we move this in to just be approved, what are we approving on that?
Well,
A decision to come?
I would ask the board to choose one of those options to
Today?
approve. Not today,
Oh,
but
okay.
Keep it on
Oh, so
action.
that's what you'll bring back?
yes.
Okay, okay.
And one is for wood chips,
Okay.
like we have currently, and you still have to maintain that.
Right.
And then the other one is for rubberized, which is considerably higher, as you can see. So that's, whatever the board's pleasure is what obviously we'll do if the board chooses to do that project. But I will bring that back as a recommendation to the board on which one we go with.
Okay.
So you want to put the regays out and put the rest on the consent agenda?
That's not what I just want to be sure I understood what we were going to be looking at. And if we're just looking at the project and he will come back with the options that they recommend, I'm okay with that.
I will, on Thursday evening, I will have a recommendation for you
Okay.
in regard to that project.
Okay.
So by moving everything else to the consent, we are approving this and the money to be spent as it has been presented to us.
That's correct.
Okay.
On Thursday.
Have we talked
Yeah.
about where the money's coming from?
Oh, you always ask that.
Well,
That's just
it
way
looks
too
like it's like
realistic.
zero, so-
Well, the
From the
obvious,
money tree.
I think the obvious place to take that money from is from the district's fund balance.
And that's what those
I'm sorry?
pants.
Oh, yeah, he
first-
did that with
Yeah.
amendments.
Yeah.
He already showed that it
It's
was
budget
coming.
3,600, am I correct? That's,
You would have to go back up to
The fund balance account?
Yes.
36.
3,600. Okay.
Okay.
I was just going to say something. I happened to drive by the Ritchie playground for the Parks and Recreation for Nacogdoches, and they have the rubberized playground. That's one of the new ones. And about a year or 2 years ago, there was a real big playground done over at Pioneer Park. It uses the wood chips, and it's a really big one with a lot of big slides, and they do just fine to have some borders around that and that holds the wood chips. And also, one's high maintenance, one's low maintenance, right? We can talk about that further, but I just thought since I happened to go by there while I'm going out of Lufkin, going out of here to Lufkin, that I'd mention that today. So even in the city parks, they vary where it's at and what they use.
Okay, board, am I understood clearly that we approve everything except reggae?
We
Not
move,
approve, we're not
move
approve.
everything to
Move
consent,
everything.
yeah,
We are putting it on consent.
yeah.
Moving it to
Consent versus reggae is going to be on action agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Anderson, you got, okay.
Reggae, yeah, the playground.
No, there's nothing approved now. Just put it on the consent. Okay, very good. All right. Now we're moving to,
Thank you.
thank you all. We're moving to executive closed session. The board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provision of Texas Open Meeting Act and as allowed by Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.0821, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as the result of discussions in the closed session will take place after the board reconvenes into open session. Time now is 12:43, and I'm not quite sure what time we're going to get out. Somebody give me a,
I'll be brief.
okay. So we
I can
say
assure you.
before 1:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Board now reconvening into open session. Time is 1:31. Board members, are there any requests for future agenda? If not, I ask for motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
There is no opposition, I assume. We adjourn.
Thank you.